Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Ask Dave. A reader sent in a very, very interesting question, which I would like to share with you and then attempt to answer. Here it is. A general question. I am facing a problem in listening to classical music. There is a lot of music that I know nothing about, but most of the time I find myself only listening to music that I am more familiar with. I mean, unconsciously, it is easier for me to listen to a Beethoven or Brahms symphony for the thousandth, time than pick a Schnittke, Martinu, or Szymanowski. So there is a huge part of the repertoire that I am always skipping. Have you ever had this issue in your journey? What solution do you suggest? Should I come up with a schedule to make sure I will cover everything? Well, that is quite a question. I appreciate your asking. First of all, don't come up with a schedule. You can't possibly get everything. Classical music, in the largest sense, is everything that exists from the notated musical universe, so like the 12th century, up until yesterday. There is no way you're going to cover everything, and we can't even begin to try. I'm trying to get as much as possible, and I've done 2,800 plus videos, and I'm just scratching the surface, so I wouldn't worry about that issue. However, I hear what you're telling me. Have I had that problem? Let me answer that first question. In short, yes and no. There are times when I get tired of listening to the same thing over and over again. But as a professional critic, I've had to do it a lot more than you have. So my question is what kind of a listener are you? What kind of a person are you? You have to be honest with yourself. There is nothing wrong with loving the standard classics and just staying with them. I mean, if you really think about it, most listeners are that way, I think. They have a sense of the music that they like. They find the music that they like, and they listen to it interminably. That's what happens with pop music. That's what I didn't like about pop music. If you listen to the top 40 or whatever, that's what makes them a top 40. Everyone's listening to the same thing over and over and over endlessly. And that bored me. It may not bore you. And it's perfectly legitimate for you to like what you like and listen to what you want to listen to in any way that you want to. So let's be clear about that. I don't want anybody to feel that there's a necessity to go beyond what makes you comfortable, what gives you pleasure. That's what this is for. So with that said, I also understand, and I detect from your question, that you'd like to get beyond the stuff that appeals to you most. And the only way to do that is to listen to it, and to listen to it as frequently as you do the other stuff and give it time on the assumption that it will speak to you. And you will know if it will speak to you rather quickly. It's not that you have to listen to it 5,000 times hoping for a breakthrough. There will be something there that should encourage you to go back and give it another shot, even if all of it didn't attract you the first time around. If you are repulsed by it completely, move on and find something else. There's tons more stuff for you to experiment. So instead of making a list and scheduling and doing all of that stuff, I would suggest that instead of listening to the 1000th Beethoven Fifth, you listen to 999 or 998 and then set aside a couple listening sessions for something else. That's all. And see how it strikes you. I mean, that's one suggestion. Now, there are some ways that I feel that I can be helpful. I mean, because this whole channel is designed for that purpose. And there are quite a few playlists that I've done that you can look at that may help set you on a path of discovering other music if that's what you want. I gather from your question that yes, that is what you want, that you would like to be able to hear some of these other things and enjoy them, maybe not immediately as much as the other stuff, but you want to break out of your standard repertoire rut. So I have three suggestions because I'm always dealing with magical biblical numbers and things like that. The first is, and all of these are in playlists on my channel, which are very, very easy to access and look at. The first of them is exploring musical sequels and prequels. There are 23 episodes of musical sequels and prequels. And, and now I'm just accidentally turning one on. It's a mistake. So how do I get rid of it? I can't make it go away. There we go. I made it go away. Boy, that was stupid. I have to I know how to get around my own channel beautifully, as you can see. There we go. Okay, so for example, sequels after Dvorak's New World Symphony, after Haydn's Opus 33 string quartets, after Beethoven's last piano sonatas, and after Franck's Symphony in D minor, and after Beethoven, generally speaking. There are before Mozart's Jupiter Symphony. I mean, things that come before and after. So here's a whole bunch of pieces. And if you like those pieces particularly well, you may very well find other works that you like as well, too. So that's one way to take a look at it. Find something you like and see if you can discover other works that are similar enough so that you feel comfortable listening to them. The next one I have a suggestion of is my enormous series of 106 videos called Fabulous Concert Programs. Now, those are programs in which a lot of the music you talk about, Szymanowski, Martinu, those people are inserted into programs of a typical classical music concert where you might go to hear it live. Of course, most of these things will never be performed live in this kind of programming, but you can look through and find lists and lists of lesser-known symphonists in a setting which highlights the symphony in question. And that might work for you because that will mix familiar repertoire with less familiar repertoire, and you'll be able to hear something in a context that hopefully presents it in a way that you find appealing. So that's another way to do it. The third way to do it, I think, is to look at my videos. Well, there's two playlists. One of them is called Lists with Twists. This is 141 videos and growing of category lists. Every conceivable category. I mean, 1 million different categories. Wait a minute, let me get there. Great symphonies by the numbers. If you want to hear symphonies numbers ones, and expressionist operas for a rainy day, and tough symphonists, and overrated recordings, and the top 10 recordings, and emotionally draining piano works, and works by genre, symphonies in cyclical form, or pieces of music, chamber works by category. And there's just a zillion, 16 amazing vocal symphonies, 16 amazing great unnumbered symphonies, 16 witty and wonderful comic operas, just lots and lots of lists of every single possible kind. And those will help you, I guarantee, to find other works that you might like based on the things that you have already enjoyed. The other is the playlist called Essential Lists for Beginners. Now, this is 57 episodes, 57 different videos, and you've got essential concertos, essential string quartets, essential short orchestral works, piano sonatas, operas, orchestral suites, challenging works, all kinds of things. And in these lists, you will find the standard repertoire. You'll find those pieces that you have typically enjoyed up to this point, along with a whole bunch of ones that you probably don't know and might find interesting that are related to those. So that's another way to do it, to find what is familiar and use that as a wedge. So you see the wedge? I'm wedging. See the wedge? It's a wedge. To find that as a wedge or entree or doorway into discovering other pieces of music that have enough things in common with the things that you like that you'll feel comfortable with them, or at least hear enough that makes you comfortable that you'll realize they're worth another listen. I mean, in a way, you've put your finger on a real conundrum in the classical music world, because the selling point for the great classics is that they are so marvelous and so deep and so profound and so multifarious and so universal that you can listen to them 1 million times and never get tired of them. Well, That may be true. That may be true in some cases. But if it is true, you make a very good point. What's the point in listening to anything else? Because you can listen to your Brahms first or Beethoven's fifth a bazillion times and hear something fresh every time, or buy 500 performances of each one and hear slightly different interpretations of each one. The pieces do have certain inexhaustible durability. They do. Whether they have more of it than some of the other pieces we've been talking about, I'm not prepared to say, because I find that there is a ton of music, aside from those standard classics, that does have that kind of variety and durability and repeatability. That's one of the characteristics, I think, that characterizes a classic. It's repeatability, but that's a very subjective quality, isn't it? Everyone has to decide how many repetitions they can tolerate. But those are my suggestions. Please sample the playlists that I've put together on this channel. I mean, I know that sounds very self-promoting, and I apologize for that, but I really do want to help. And I really think that a lot of these videos and lists and things that I've compiled will do just that. You're not alone. There is assistance for you. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm answering this question. And I hope that all of those of you out there who are looking to get beyond the basic repertoire, if you think it makes sense and if you have the time to do it, will take advantage of this resource and start listening. Start listening to some of these pieces. Now, a lot of them may not appeal to you. It's okay. It's okay. The only way you know what will appeal to you is to hear all the things that won't. That's just how it works. And if you love music, and this is my final point, if you love music, you'll enjoy the journey. You'll enjoy the journey whether you like the work or you don't like the work. Fundamentally, what it comes down to is how in love with music are you? Music generally. Not just the great classics, but the minor classics, the highways and byways, the people who may have had problems or have not been 100% perfect all the time. I mean, no one is that, but you know what I mean, right? You have to love music enough to want to experience it in all of its variety and fullness. And that doesn't just mean classical music. I mean pop music. I mean jazz. I mean rap. I mean, you got to be willing to hear greatness or interest or intriguingosity or anything like that wherever you find it in this fabulous, fabulous universe that we call music, because it is inexhaustible. And look at it with, look forward to it. It's fun. You dig around, you find treasures. I guarantee the treasures are there. It can't be a waste of your time, at least in my view, if you really love music. And that's my advice. I hope you find it helpful. Keep on listening. I know that you will. And take care. Thank you so much for asking the question.